Hey yo, just real quickly, I promise I'm not making another rant or a negative piece. This is just about console sales and how the Xbox just might struggle this generation. But this will fall in your perception because a lot of people do see the sales as success for the console, but others will argue that no, sales don't matter, it just matters about the games and the experience. But companies aren't making consoles to lose money, or if not, you'd see Sega still making a run at consoles. I mean, to start out with, Xbox hasn't been the biggest console seller in any generation. They've never even took the first spot. I don't want to focus too much on the first two Xbox, but you know, just for the sake of the new Xbox, let's just take a look at them. And coincidentally, there's a trend that we'll actually dissect in a bit too. And it's gonna be so confusing how we even mention the first Xbox. I think I'm just gonna call it the first Xbox. But the first Xbox, it just barely edged the GameCube, but it really wasn't close against the PS2. Sony just had that generation by the neck. But the fact that Microsoft just jumped in making a console and it beat out Nintendo is a win in itself. Xbox would make big moves with some great exclusive titles, the biggest one being Halo, and introducing Xbox Live Gold. These two would revolutionize online multiplayer gaming forever, and they would take this momentum going forward with the following generation, the Xbox 360. Now, the 360, they had a great launch. It helped that they had a year head start on the Wii and the PS3, but with titles like Gears of War and Halo 3 in the horizon, the 360 pulled ahead of the competition. But, however, even with the head start that the 360 had, with the Wii and the PS3, it eventually settled in third place. With how the PS3 struggled at launch with its high price tag at $600 and no games at the time, and the way it just came back and took over, it's kind of disappointing for 360 and the Xbox to lose that one. The 360 did have its share of problems like the Red Ring of Death, maybe focusing on the Kinect too much, and honestly a lack of variety in their exclusive lineup. Like sure it's cool, but I mean you just got a lot of Halos and more Gears of War, and hey a Halo spin-off, oh wait another Gears of War, and what? Bungie doesn't want to make Halo? Well, how about a new Halo with a different dev? But with such a close race, the Xbox could keep the momentum going. The first Xbox sold about 24 million and the 360 at 84 million, so that was a big jump up. So Xbox was only on its way up. So let's see what they did with the next generation. And now we made it to the Xbox One that landed safely in the second spot. Much thanks for Nintendo and its blunder with the Wii U. I mean, the Wii U was a complete failure at sales, but it had some gems in its library and interesting online service with Miiverse, and had so many services that are missing on the Switch today, like the Virtual Console and Netflix. It's 2021 and we don't even have Netflix on the Switch. We have Hulu and even the Funimation app, but for some reason Netflix isn't on there. But that's enough about Nintendo. And well, the PS4 just took it by a landslide, just like the PS2 era. Sony took advantage of every wrong move that Microsoft made with the Xbox One. But before we go into Microsoft's mistakes, let's look at the trend real quick that I caught onto. History tends to repeat itself a lot, but it's not set in stone. But it's just an interesting view on the past generations. So the trend was second, third, and then with the Xbox One, it went second again with sales. And it's funny too because in both cases, Nintendo's was struggling due to poor choices with their consoles. I mean, the GameCube was great, but it lacked third-party support due to the proprietary disc, that little tiny disc that the GameCube came with. And also the buttons on the controls were a little awkward. And the Wii U is just self-explanatory. Or in some cases, the Nintendo just clearly was ahead in sales with the Wii and the Switch. But PlayStation always bolstered solid sales and arguably won the generation, even if it didn't win in the sales games. But back to the Xbox One, it actually had a rough start with all these anti-consumer choices before its launch. I mean, who was that rotten to stop people from sharing a video game and having the console always be online? I mean, look at this smug asshole.
Product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message. If you don't, like it.
If you have zero access to the internet, that is an offline device. I mean, seriously, when I read the blogs and thought about who's really the most impacted, there was a person who said, "Hey, I'm on a nuclear sub, and I don't even know what it means to be."
Jeez, like who thought this was a good idea to say this to consumers? I'm sure they lost every on-the-fence Xbox buyer at that time. I wonder if they ever look back and think about how badly they fumbled that generation. Everyone chewed Microsoft over it, and it didn't take long for them to make takesy-backsies with the whole fiasco. This generation actually humbled Microsoft, and everything going forward was pro-consumer for gamers. They went as far as making the newest consoles even more accessible to people while making one power console for the enthusiasts and one quote-unquote entry next-gen consoles, the Xbox Series X and S. These consoles are actually on a great pace to sell well, or it could just be due to the hype or the lack of inventory that they're sold out. Either way, the Xbox Series X and S are in a good position to thrive this generation. It has the hype of Halo, and yeah, it had an underwhelming announcement, but the reception from the beta has been great. Not only that, but the Series S is priced so well and competitively that it makes it an easy sell for a second console for those who don't want to miss on any exclusives landing on the console. At $299, it's priced right at what the Switch is, but at least with the Series S, you're almost guaranteed to have the feature support of all third parties. I mean, the Switch is looking like a pipsqueak right now, and third party support is looking shaky. And when I say almost guaranteed, I'm just using speculation, because you never know in the foreseeable future if maybe some games might be too big to run on the Series S. And Xbox just bought Bethesda too, so they just bought a powerful piece for the exclusive lineup. I love Fallout and Doom, so this keeps me on my toes. I'm sure they'll eventually release on PC, but you never know. They are trying to make some console sales, and I also like Elder Scrolls, but honestly only play Skyrim. But I am looking forward to ES6, and the biggest deal is that their new project Starfield has also been just announced to be an exclusive to the Xbox. So sorry Sony and Nintendo fans, but you guys are shit out of luck. But we'll see how critical that release of Starfield is, because it is a new IP. But that's not a bad exclusive lineup for Xbox to have. Yet the biggest ace for Microsoft is the Xbox Game Pass. The Game Pass is such a great deal. I actually haven't experienced Game Pass on the Xbox. I have it on the PC, and the amount of games you get on that is amazing for the deal. I originally got it to play the Master Chief Collection, but I stayed for the library. I got to try so many games that I would have never been able to try without taking the risk of actually buying the game. I got to play Dead Cells, and I think it's My Friend is Pablo, and so much more. The library has so many games and such a great variety. So this will be really appealing for those who have multiple people playing on the console, from kids to oldies like me. You get, like I said, the Halos, you get Gears of War, Minecraft, Forza, indies, which the indie developer community just came out and said that they love Microsoft and dislike the practices that Sony is doing. And now they even have Bethesda titles, shooters, adventure, horror, and I could go on and on and on and on and on because it's a really extensive list. There's one game I want to highlight on Xbox Game Pass. For all my Nintendo fans, specifically my starving Paper Mario fans, and for those that have been living under a rock or like it's 2004, the golden year, but Bug Fables is on there and it's seriously the best spiritual successor to the RPG Paper Mario games. Not the new RPG ones, we're talking about the Golden 2, the original Paper Mario on the N64, and the Thousand Year Door. So if you guys find yourself on Xbox or on PC, the game's on there and you have nothing to lose. For those who are still skeptical about the game, get the pass. If it's not for you, we'll play something else. Plus, Xbox Game Pass always has the $1 entry for the subscription, but usually it's $9.99. But if you get the Ultimate, you also get the pass on console, PC, and even your phone on mobile. Not only that, you get Xbox Live Gold and EA Play. Yeah, you know, EA is the devil, but it comes included, so take advantage of it if you're really into FIFA or I don't know what else they got on there. And you get all that for $14.99 a month. So here's where you tell me, what am I getting at? Man, Dinky, you actually made a lot of good reasons why the Xbox will succeed. And I did. I'm actually a fan of all the moves they've made. But I think these days, anything pushed by hype will win. Hype is a dirty drug these days, and once you're in it, you'll do things you'll regret, like eating at Arby's at one time. And as for the PS5 has had the most hype this generation than any other console I could think of. The closest is the Wii back in 2006. The Wii was selling just like the PS5 is today, and the PS3 really struggled with its $600 price tag with the hype of the Wii and also the 360 at the time, but then that actually came back at the end of the console generation. I actually don't know if the Xbox Series can actually overcome this hype train. It's either sink or swim, but with how crazy the hype for the PS5 is going, it's on track to be the fastest selling console of all time. But at the moment, we're in a weird race since the Switch is in the picture. Currently the Switch, if you want to count it, is in first place at almost close to 90 million consoles sold. Not a fair comparison since it's had the biggest head start, but 4 years going on to 5, it's made numbers. So now we're stuck in the most hypothetical of hypotheticals. So let's say this, we're going to compare the sales of the Switch while the current gen runs. And we'll speculate how the new Nintendo Switch is going to sell too. So since the new generation has started, the PS5 and Xbox started, their respective launch is really strong, but with the PS5 in the lead against the Xbox. But look at that, the Switch outsold both next gen consoles at launch. The outlier here is that everybody's suffering from shortages, but even then, it's really crazy that the Switch outsold the next generation, the newest generation. You would think people would just stop buying it in anticipation of the new generation. The Switch also struggled at points to stay in stock for the past year, but it's nothing compared to the PS5 and Xbox. They're newer consoles with newer components, and it's going to be a lot much harder to get those components made. Plus, the Switch has been in the game, so its components should be readily available, and it has a large library of games. But I just go back to the fact that you would think people would stop buying the Switch just to save money to be ready for the new consoles whenever they're in stock. But anyway you put it, the Switch is kicking ass for now, but it looks like it's losing steam. I mean, it's on its 4th year going on 5th, so we should be seeing a new Switch coming out soon. So Nintendo has found the perfect blend with its hybrid mashup, and I hope they don't change it up too much for the next console. I know they're gonna add a new gimmick, but Nintendo would be crazy to stray away from this winning formula. And if Nintendo can offer a newer Switch with the power of maybe the Xbox Series S, I don't see them losing any steam. So we'll just assume that the new Switch will sell just as well as the Nintendo Switch did back in 2017. Yeah, it's a long shot, but if Rockstar can get GTA on the Switch, boy, I would argue that would be the second best selling version of the game. Another wildcard is just those that might just transition to PC gaming. If they go that route, it's really difficult to recommend an Xbox, since more likely than not, they're going to get all the Xbox games on PC, but that's definitely going to hurt console sales. But if PC gamers get the Xbox Game Pass, I see that as a win for both Microsoft and Xbox. However, I still can't see the Xbox beating all this hype, but being third won't be its downfall this generation, because for better or worse, Xbox is going to lead in the game subscription category. They're not the first ones to do it, but they're the ones that actually are perfecting it at the moment. By winning over the indie community and also having a strong exclusive lineup, Xbox will already have a strong foundation built with its Xbox Game Pass that it's going to be such an amazing deal that a lot of gamers won't be able to ignore. And the best part is, you don't even need an Xbox to enjoy Xbox Game Pass. The PC boys can take full advantage of it too. So you see, this wasn't really a negative video. I just wanted to put a spotlight on all the positive it has going for it. The reason why it will be third won't be because of any bad or wrong decisions from Microsoft, but more that the competition is riding on hype and momentum that the Xbox unfortunately doesn't have. This generation is in a weird spot right now thanks to the Switch. It's in a weird race. So unfortunately because of that, the Xbox is in third place. But Microsoft is setting itself to have great success with the Xbox, with its pro-consumer choices, the Xbox Game Pass, and just not doing anything that's bad. Honestly, there's not a single bad move I think Xbox has made to warrant it to have bad sales, honestly. And who knows, maybe Xbox might turn it around and actually take the #1 spot for once in this generation. And you know, like Ricky Bobby would say,
American winning machine, if you ain't first, you're last. You know what I'm talking about? That phrase is trademark, not to be used as permission to Ricky Bobby Inc.
And I'm so sure there's so much truth to that, because I know every company wants to be first, no one wants to be last. It's a healthy competition at least. But what do you guys think? Do you think the Xbox has what it takes to take this generation? Or you more or less agree with what I had to say? Or else let me know if you already bought one, you love it, or do you plan on buying one, or you just think you're going to skip this generation? If Microsoft actually makes Fallout a console exclusive, I will actually buy an Xbox. That'll be the only time I'll buy one. I might settle with the Xbox Series S just because it's a little bit cheaper, but maybe for the power I'll go with the Series X. We'll see when the time comes. But I think that just about wraps up the video. I'm going to end here. It went on a little bit too long, I think. But anyways, just hit that subscribe button and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you.